Very good morning, friends. Welcome back to biology online class. We are discussing about diversity in the living world. Under that, today onwards, from this video part onwards, we would like to discuss the different kingdoms which was made by Whittaker. Understand, sir? We are going to discuss the Whittaker's classification. So, under diversity in the living world, we are going to discuss about Whittaker classification. As we know that this was widely accepted by everyone because of they have taken in view of all the characteristic features of the organisms that helps them to classify into different groups. Due to this classification of the organisms into different groups, the Whittaker classification was widely accepted. Under that, we have seen five taxonomic classification. What are that is Monera. Next, Protista, fungi, plant and animalia. These are the different group of the different classifications which was made by the Whittakers. That's what Whittaker classification is widely accepted under the diversity in the living world. Now, we would like to discuss about one by one of all these different categories or types of living world. Now, we will continue with the Monera. So, under these each group of the organisms, what we have to going to learn is the common characteristic features what we have discussed. Like the type of cell, the cell wall or nucleus, organelles, mode of nutrition, habitat where they are found, respiration, and also nutrition and mode of reproduction, their importance. Understand, these are all the concepts we have to discuss. Under the Monera also we would like to discuss. Understand? So, under Monera, this group of taxon is made for the bacteria. For what it is made for? Bacteria. As we know that these are the single cellular organelles. Is or not? Now we would like to discuss the characteristic features of the bacteria which are found under Monera. Right? Now, type of cell. How is the cell which is found? Means they are, how are the organisms? They are unicellular or multicellular, or prokaryote or eukaryote. That is we would like to discuss. Now, what type of cells do they have is a prokaryotic cell. Is it right? They are having prokaryotic. And how is the cell? It is single, so unicellular. Prokaryotic unicellular organisms. Understand? That is the cell type. And next, cell wall. Whether they consisting of cell wall or not. If it is present, what is the substance or the component of cell wall that is found? So, cell wall is present. Understand? It is present. And this cell wall is made of. And this cell wall is made of peptidoglycan. Cell wall is made of peptidoglycan. Understand? And also, not only some are made up of peptidoglycans, some others are made up of mucoproteins, mucopeptides. Understand? Like this, the source or the places where they are living according to their conditions, they used to make their cell wall with different chemical substances. Understand? So, the cell wall is present and this cell wall is consisting of or made up of peptidoglycan in some bacteria and mucopeptides in some other bacteria. Whereas, cell wall is absent. It is absent in Mycoplasma bacteria. In which bacteria the cell wall is absent is Mycoplasma, and it is also being called as PPLO. So pleuropneumonia-like organism. Understand? What is PPLO means? Pleuropneumonia-like organism. That is PPLO. Understand? And it is the smallest bacteria. Understand? Cell wall is present. If cell wall is present means it is composed of peptidoglycans, mucopeptides. If cell wall is absent, where it is absent? In mycoplasma bacteria it is absent. Understand? That is the cell wall. And next, nucleus. How is the nucleus? Nucleus in bacteria present or absent? Absent. Is it right? So nucleus is absent. Due to the absence of the nucleus, what do they are called? Prokaryotes. Understand? Remember that. And organelles, membrane-bound organelles. Not only nucleus, any other organelles are present or not. That is we would like to discuss. Next, membrane-bound organelles. Membrane-bound organelles are absent. Membrane-bound organelles are absent. But DNA is found in the cytoplasm. As we have discussed about the cell and these components of the cell, we have discussed the structure of the cell. Is right. Under that we have seen the nucleus is found in case of the DNA is found in case of nucleus. But in case of these bacteria, they consisting of genetic material, that is DNA, and which is found in the cytoplasm of the cell. Is it right? That is the specialty of these microorganisms because of absence of nucleus. Understand? That is the thing. And next, next characteristic feature. Let us see. Locomotion. They can move or not. If they are shows movement, they are called motile. The locomotion means what? Changing the position. Understand? Changing, that is movement from one point to another point. What do we call? Locomotion. If the locomotion, if they are showing the locomotion means they are called motile organisms. What they are called? Motile organisms. And for this motile or locomotion, they use the flagellum. What do they use? They use flagellum for the locomotion from one point to the another point. Understand? That is the locomotory organelle. And next, let us discuss about nutrition. How they will obtain their food. That is we are discussing under nutrition. So the nutrition can be followed by autotrophic mode of nutrition. What type of nutrition is carried by? Autotrophic mode of nutrition is carried by the Monera group of organisms. In case if they are following autotrophic mode of nutrition, they use chemical substances are the source of energy to make their own food. So autotroph means what? As we know that they make their own food. What is autotrophism means? Preparing their own food. Making own food. This can be followed by the autotrophic mode of nutrition. And in case of under autotrophic mode of nutrition, they use chemicals as a source of energy. What is the source of energy? Is chemicals. They use chemicals. And so this type of nutrition what is called as chemoautotropism. What do we call? Chemoautotropism. Why it is called as chemoautotropism means they uses chemicals as a source. Chemicals as a source of energy. There is chemicals as source of energy, and such mode of nutrition what we call as chemoautotropism. And what are the bacteria performing chemoautotropic mode of nutrition is like sulfur bacteria. What it is a sulfur bacteria. Next, nitrosomonas bacteria. Next, iron bacteria. These are the some of the bacteria which are following the mode of nutrition is chemoautotropism. Why it is called as chemoautotropism? Because they uses chemicals as a source of energy to make their own food. That's why that mode of nutrition what we call as chemoautotropism. That is, generally they are called autotrophs, means they are preparing their own food. They used to prepare their own food. That's why they are called as chemoautotrophs. What they are called? Chemoautotrophs. Understand? That is what the nutrition mode. One mode only it is we are discussing. What is the mode? Chemoautotropism. Understand? That is under autotrophs. But all the bacteria they do not make their own food. They never makes. All of them are not making their own food, and they also depended on other organisms. As we know that depending on other organism for the purpose of the energy source or food. Understand? So depending on other organism, for what purpose depended? For food. That is source of energy. If you are taking food from any other organisms, that mode of nutrition we call as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What do we call? Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Understand? So again, see, this is the autotrophic mode of nutrition we have seen here, and let us see another mode of nutrition. What is that? Is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So heterotropism. Heterotrophs. So one is autotrophic mode of nutrition, and another type is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. That is depending on others. Depending on others. For what purpose they were dependent on others? For the source of energy. Understand? For the source of energy. So that type of nutrition what we call heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Understand? Under heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they can be parasites. Parasites means they are dependent. They are living in other organisms. For example, if you take your hand, we can find many of my bacteria found. In our body, bacteria are found in digestive system, which are useful for us. Understand? That's what the bacteria who are obtaining nutrients by living in other organisms in their body. Understand? That type of nutrition is called parasites, means living in other organisms to obtain their source of energy. And what do we call it is parasites. That is the one type of nutrition. And also we can see symbiosis. What it is called? Symbiosis. Symbiosis means what? Mutually understanding for the source of energy. Means for the beneficiary, they are exchanging the materials with different organisms. Understand? That is symbiotic mode of nutrition. In this way, the bacteria, all bacteria are not autotrophs, but all the bacteria are not heterotrophs. So they follows both the type of nutrition. What are that? They follows autotrophic mode of nutrition and also follows the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Understand? So just we will recall what we have explained here. Under the group of Monera, all are prokaryotic unicellular organisms which consisting of cell wall, and this cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan or also it is made up of mucopeptides. Some of the bacteria they do not have cell wall. For example, mycoplasma. Understand? And where these group of organisms, they do not consisting of nucleus and they do not consisting of any membrane bound organelles, but they contains DNA as genetic material found in the cytoplasm, and they can move from one point to another point, so they are called motile. And if it is motile, they uses flagellum for the locomotion. And these bacteria, they obtain their nutrients by means of autotrophic mode of nutrition as well as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Under autotrophic mode of nutrition, they uses chemical substances are the source of energy. So this mode is also called as chemoautotropism. What it is called? Chemoautotropism. And for example, like sulfur bacteria, iron bacteria, and nitrosomonas bacteria, examples. And these also follows the heterotropism, means they obtain sources of energy from other organisms. Is it right? So they are called as heterotrophs. For this, they follow parasitic mode. They are living in other organisms and taking nutrients from their body itself. For example, bacteria are found in our digestive system, which are helpful for us. So they are helping us and they are taking energy from our body. Understand? That we can also call as parasitic mode. And in some symbiosis, this is also another mode of nutrition where two different organisms are interdependent on each other. Understand? For example, rhizobium bacteria, which is found in the legume plants. Understand? The roots. These bacteria helps to supply nitrogen to the plants, whereas the plant is supplying energy to the bacteria. And this type of nutrition what we call symbiosis. Understand? In this way, we can see that these are some of the characteristic features which are found in Monera. Understand? They are the prokaryotes, unicellular, which is having cell wall made up of peptidoglycan or mucopeptides, and cell wall is absent. Then in case of mycoplasma, nucleus also absent, membrane bound organelle is absent, but DNA is found in the cytoplasm. And next one, they use flagellum for the locomotion, and they use to follow the mode of nutrition is under autotrophic mode and heterotrophic. Under autotrophic, they uses chemical energy source, so that is called as chemoautotropism. And they depended on other organisms like parasitic mode of nutrition as well as symbiotic mode of nutrition. In this way, some of the characteristic features of the Monera. Next we will continue in the next part. Understand?